Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo, and my friends. The Giants just hired Joe Schoen to be the new general manager of this prestigious and historical organization. Now, can he succeed is the question, and I hope he can. Coming from the Buffalo Bills, assistant GM to Brandon Beane, his right-hand man in talent evaluation from the pro to the collegiate level. He is a tremendous hire for this Giants team that needed an overhaul of the entire front office, a cultural overhaul. Joe Judge behind the scenes shit. No. We're finally doing it the right way. Carte blanche to the new GM, Joe Schoen, and he has the opportunity to come in here and really make a difference and really change things up because the Giants needed to modernize their entire franchise from the bottom up. And finally, we have a guy who can get that done, and he has experience helping develop a young quarterback in Josh Allen into an elite prospect, and he knows what type of players they need to be a successful team. Now, Anthony, how excited are you about Joe Schoen becoming the new general manager of our Big Blue?
Dude, I'm thrilled. I love this hiring. I think Joe Schoen is a phenomenal candidate. I did the Ghetto Gone miniseries episode on him like a week or two ago, and I basically said it's hard to find a weakness with this guy. I did his strengths and his weaknesses, but when I got to his weaknesses, I was like, there really aren't any. I mean, of course, that nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect at any job, but Joe Schoen has a phenomenal career history, a phenomenal track record. His strengths are exactly what Giants fans are looking and hoping for. Great talent evaluation. He started off as a ticket intern with the Carolina Panthers, but then he got his big gig in scouting, impressed a lot of people. In particular, really impressed Bill Parcells, and then he impressed Brandon Beane, and then he also impressed pretty much everyone else in the Buffalo Bills organization, was the assistant GM there, and has done a phenomenal job working with them, finding talent in the middle rounds. Brandon Beane isn't necessarily the big scouting guy over in Buffalo. He actually relies mostly on Joe Schoen to be that scout, but now he can't do that anymore because he is the general manager of the New York Giants. That great scouting is now here with Big Blue, hopefully going to find us new offensive linemen, new cornerbacks, linebackers, all the talent that we desperately need on this team. Joe Schoen will find it. And another thing I want to add, everyone wants a new forward-thinking mind, right? He gets to rebuild basically the whole department. The Giants are going to let him rebuild because they're giving him a clean sheet to just draw whatever he wants on it. You better believe that the Giants are going to get a little bit more involved with analytics and being progressive and having a smarter football mind, because the one who built the analytics department over in Buffalo was Joe Schoen. Smart freaking guy, great talent evaluator, home run hiring by the New York Giants.
And you said it, man. Analytics, that is the modern way of the NFL. Analytics is so important. Joe Schoen, he runs that analytical department. He's going to bring over studs, hopefully from Buffalo, and experience there, maybe give him a little promotion and pay bump. So maybe he'll actually get to bring us some guys over from Buffalo and really upgrade what the Giants currently have. Whatever Dave Gettleman built in the back end in terms of the analytical department, probably one dude with a 2004 Apple MacBook. So it's like we don't really know what that looks like, but I think the Giants are going to have a couple of things to learn, a couple of new investments to make with Joe Schoen as our new general manager. Now, I loved all three candidates, Adam Peters, Ryan Poles, and Joe Schoen. I think personally that you couldn't go wrong with any of those three. They were outsiders, tremendously successful, all three of them in the postseason with their respective teams. Joe Schoen obviously being the analytical guy of the three, in my opinion, has a little bit more experience in that department. But Adam Peters, another phenomenal option. The Giants passed on him this time, but I'm sure he's going to get a pretty good gig in the future as a GM of some team. He might even get one this year. So we'll see about that. But to give you a little background on Joe Schoen, if you don't know much about him, he's currently the Buffalo Bills assistant general manager. He spent 20 years scouting and executive experience in the NFL, including the last 5 in upstate New York. He joined the Bills in 2017 after spending most of the previous decade with the Miami Dolphins front office, including the last 4 as the team's director of player personnel. So over the last 4 years, we've seen the Bills really transform their entire team. From Josh Allen to the running back committee of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary to Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. They have Tre'Davious White. He tore his ACL this year. They're still supplementing and doing a great job. Offensive line ranks 14th in pass blocking this year. They went out and traded for Stephon Diggs. They have Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, the scat back, really quick guy, Dawson Knox. They have some really phenomenal players over there in Buffalo, and he's done a great job pinpointing them. But the most of all, in my opinion, Anthony, is the development of the quarterback. That has been the separator for Buffalo, Josh Allen's development. Now, that requires everybody to be involved, from the coaches to the front office guys, to help get the right people in place that he can maximize his talent. Daniel Jones, no offensive line, not much talent until this year. Saquon Barkley still coming back from the injury. Kenny Galladay, no time to get downfield. Kadarius Toney, injured. Evan Ingram, useless. So, Anthony, when you're looking at Joe Schoen, do you think he's the right guy to come in here and overhaul the way that we go about developing a quarterback? Do you think that he sticks with Daniel Jones? That's a huge decision they have to make this offseason. The fifth-year option, do they want to go that route? Personally, I think that it's gonna really be up to the GM to decide if he wants to go with the quarterback this year or next year. I don't think they'll stick with Daniel Jones. They want to reset that deal. They want to really start off on a new foot. That could be Kenny Pickett for all we know. It could be Malik Willis for all we know. It could be CJ Stroud or Bryce Young in 2023, Anthony. Do you think that Joe Schoen has what it takes to help develop a young quarterback for the Giants and build a strong nucleus of players around him so they can come in seamlessly and really develop him without the stunting of growth that Daniel Jones kind of endured with the poor offensive line play?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And one of the reasons why is if you take a look at the team that Joe Schoen was just with, you take a look at the Buffalo Bills, 2017, Brandon Beane comes over. First hiring he makes is assistant general manager Joe Schoen. Then 2018, they draft Josh Allen. Now, at the time, if you really think back about this, a lot of people now are like, Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Oh my God, he's so amazing. Well, he wasn't always that amazing. And in fact, it was kind of a odd selection to some people. Some people were surprised because Josh Allen got all the first round buzz, of course, went in the first round, but there were a lot of people who did not believe in Josh Allen. Yes, he had that cannon of an arm, but he was horribly inaccurate, and he never really showed up in big games in college. He played at a small school. It's not like he was playing at Alabama or Oklahoma or anything like that. He's playing at freaking Wyoming, small school, smaller, lesser known quarterback, goes out there, doesn't really dominate the competition by any means, but has all of the physical and tangible traits, can throw the ball 70 freaking yards at least. Josh Allen has that cannon attached to his shoulder. And the Bills saw that and said, you know what? This is a top 10 pick. This is worthy of being a top 10 pick. We are going to draft him in the first round, make him our franchise guy, and then we're going to build a great team around him. And what have they done? Well, first of all, they got it right. The quarterback position is the number one thing that you have to get right. They got it right with Josh Allen. It took a couple of years. I mean, his first two seasons were not good. And in fact, people were saying if he doesn't show out in year 3, we're probably talking about the Bills finding another quarterback. Year 3, what did they do? Let's go get him a receiver, okay? Let's get him Stephon Diggs. Let's also go find him Dawson Knox, a reliable tight end that can break out and emerge with him. And they continue to just build that team around him. Of course, you look at the defensive side of the ball, which of course helps the quarterback, but isn't really related to the quarterback too much. I mean, what the Bills have built defensively is phenomenal. They have so much talent on that side of the ball. It's unbelievable. But you go ahead, you talk about Josh Allen, all the talent around him. They've helped him get a good offensive line in front of him. They found a couple backs in the backfield that can be productive. And of course, that wide receiver core, they've made some great signings in free agency. Cole Beasley has been a really solid player for them ever since he was signed. And of course, the trade for Stephon Diggs. Dawson Knox, a great middle round draft pick. That's not a first round pick. I mean, he produces like a first round pick at times, but he's not a first round pick. That was Joe Schoen and Brandon Beane finding great talent in the middle rounds. And that's the kind of stuff that Joe Schoen is going to bring to the Giants. So when they find that quarterback, they find their franchise guy. I mean, he's done it once before. He's helped Brandon Beane build around Josh Allen. I fully expect him to be able to help the Giants build around whichever quarterback they go with in the future. Whether they stick with Daniel Jones, he knows how to build around him. If they go with someone else, he knows how to build around whoever it is playing quarterback. Joe Schoen has this experience, and this is the invaluable experience that he has. This experience is, I mean, more than anything, having the experience finding a new quarterback, finding a young franchise guy, and then building a contender around him. That is invaluable experience. So important, especially where the New York Giants, where they are right now, this current state of this team, so important. And one of the many reasons why this was such a great hiring.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to go over some of the Buffalo Bills draft selections from the past couple of years and give some take, and some insight into these players specifically. So, Anthony, kind of want this to be a little back and forth, see what you think about this. So, when Joe Schoen came to the Bills in 2017, right off the bat, they land Tre'Davious White, Zay Jones, Deion Dawkins, and Matt Milano. Those are four players right there that are starters on multiple teams right now. So you talk about that. Like Tre'Davious White was considered one of the best corners in the league, 27th overall pick before his injury. That's a huge landing for them. And then Deion Dawkins, obviously starting guard. Matt Milano, one of their starting linebackers out of Boston College. 2018, they land Josh Allen. They land Tremaine Edmonds. And then they land Wyatt Teller and Ray McLeod. Wyatt Teller is now an all-pro offensive tackle for the Browns. So they actually hit on that originally, and then they let him go to the Browns. But still, another great sign of a tremendous evaluation. Josh Allen, obviously the elite quarterback you're looking for, and then Tremaine Edmonds. So interesting little thing there that they went and got Josh Allen a year after Joe Schoen got there at Buffalo. And then 2019, they get Ed Oliver, starter in the interior of their defensive line. He's a tremendous player. Cody Ford at tackle. Devin Singletary, starting running back in the 3rd round. Dawson Knox, starting tight end in the 3rd round. Who else did they get? They got Darryl Johnson, a defensive end. Tommy Sweeney, some 7th round picks there. And then 2020, they get AJ Epineza with their first pick in the 2020 draft. He was actually in the 2nd round at 54 because they traded a 1st round pick and a couple late rounders to get Stephon Diggs. So the 2020 draft is actually Stephon Diggs, AJ Epineza, Zach Moss, who's a good running back, Gabriel Davis, who's a key receiver for them. They got Jake Frost, Tyler Bassett, kicker, Isaiah Hodgins, and Dane Jackson. And in this past draft, they go with Gregory Rousseau, starter, Carlos Basham, starter, Spencer Brown, starter. They have 3 guys right off the bat that are starting for them and making an impact. So, Anthony, when you're looking at the past 1, 2, 3, 4 drafts, really 5, you consider 2017 as well, they landed multiple all-pro talents, an elite quarterback, and a ton of contributing players. I mean, from a standpoint of actually evaluating talent and them producing on the field and developing, Joe Schoen and Brandon Beane absolutely kicked ass, and that is why they're Super Bowl contenders right now, Anthony. When you're looking at that list, how does that make you feel?
I mean, bright future ahead for the Giants, right? That's what I hope for, at least. You know, we've said this before, so I don't want to get too carried away, too far ahead of myself. But you look at that draft history. Of course, it's hard to pinpoint who was selected by, who is a Bean selection and who is a Shane selection, right? But he's in the room. He helped sign off on all of these picks. He's Brandon Beane's right hand man. These are great draft selections that you're discussing. These are consistently good draft classes. And not only that, the coaching staff is also doing a good job getting the most out of all of these draft selections. Of course, we'll see exactly what Joe Schoen does with the head coach position, what that head coach does with his coaching staff. Of course, I discussed this in my Joe Schoen breakdown episode. He has great coaching connections, of course, over there in Buffalo. Phenomenal coaching staff. If he goes through the Buffalo Bills coaching staff, there's a really great chance that he's going to find a stud somewhere on that staff to be a head coach. Of course, there's other guys who aren't affiliated with the Bills in any way. Dan Quinn's out there. There's some names out there. Brian Flores, I know, has some connections or is either on the short list or whatever. We'll see what happens at head coach. And of course, that is arguably the most important part of player development, who the head coach is. But when you're taking a look at the players that are being given to the head coach, that's almost just as important. That's super important too. You got to find guys with the right talent. There's got to be a solid amount of talent to develop, right? And they have to fit the system. So that's another thing. In times, in the past, we've seen the Giants draft some players that didn't really fit into what the coaching staff was doing. And they tried to develop them, but it never worked. Well, hopefully now we get some right synergy, get things going in the right direction. And again, you asked me what I think of all those draft classes. I think they're really consistent. I think they're really solid from top to bottom. There's contributors pretty much in first rounds, middle rounds, late rounds. There's contributors all over the place. And I think that's super important for the Giants to finally get some contributors through the draft, because that's how you build. You build through the draft, and the Giants can finally get back on track by doing that.
Absolutely. Look, I think Joe Schoen, phenomenal hire. Obviously, his track record speaks for itself. He's going to find good players. Now, it really comes down to the coaching staff. Who do they bring in here? Dan Quinn, experienced guy. They have Brian Flores, who is reportedly very connected to the Giants. Maybe a Brian Dable from Buffalo helped develop Josh Allen and create a really competent and really great offense. So there's a lot of options here, guys, a lot of news left to unearth, and we're really excited to see where this team goes from here and what comes next, because there's a lot of information going to be coming out in the next couple days. So we got you guys covered as always. Hope you enjoyed the first video as Joe Schoen, as the general manager of the New York Football Giants. Hope you guys are happy. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below in the YouTube comments. Much love as always. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants video.